Okay, let's start. Hello and welcome everyone. Today in this session we will talk about the changes in game marketing processes. We have very valuable panelists with us. And before introducing them, I am to introduce myself. I'm Ersan from Match Studio. I work as head of gaming and make mobile games. Here's Svetlana from TikTok as gaming partnership manager, and Michael as CEO of GameBake, Roman as marketing director of Tenjin, and Nim from Dynamo as co-founder. Let's start with you, Svetlana. Could you please introduce yourself and your company, please?
Yeah, sure. Hi guys, I'm Sveta, it's short for Svetlana. So I've been 6+ years in the gaming space, working across different companies like Smartly, Unity, and now I'm at TikTok. So working as a gaming partnership manager for the UK and the Nordics market, focusing mostly on the mobile advertisers. Well, I guess TikTok doesn't need much of an introduction, but yeah, TikTok is a short video platform if you don't know that. So where can you do user acquisition for your games? So excited to be here.
Thank you very much. Roman, could you please continue?
Yeah, sure. Roman, 10 years in the industry doing marketing for Tenjin, like marketing analytics for Hypergrowth. Probably most of you know about us. We're almost as popular as TikTok, a little bit more of a PR and branding. Hopefully this panel will help us.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And Mike, please go on.
Sure, yeah. So I'm Mike. I'm one of the founders, CEO of GameBake. It's an agnostic distribution platform. So we're helping many developers, publishers alike, bring their games from iOS, Google Play, really simply with no integrations, no SDKs, which I know all developers around the world hate as much as anybody else. More and more SDKs in their games. By helping them to deploy, market, scale, monetize their games across the swath of platforms across Android, HTML5 platforms that exist out there in the market.
Excellent. And Nim, shall I call you Nim or Nimrod? Which one you prefer?
Everything is okay. Nim is shorter, and we don't have a lot of time, so.
All right, let's go on, please.
I'm Nim from Dynamo, one of the co-founders. I'm in charge of the business development. We help social teams out there to better their daily routine by cutting sometimes in half their tasks that they don't like, the repetitive, technical, boring, non-creative kind of tasks by a system that we created with dozens of different automations, which bring them to interact authentically but at scale with their social users.
Thank you very much. Nice to meet you all. Last year there were some changes about store regulations, both on Apple and Google side. So I would like to ask you, what are your processes against those kind of radical store regulations? Do you implement something new, or do you plan to do something about them in terms of marketing? Nim, let's start with you and then roll backwards.
So I would like to reply in two ways or two layers of reply. One is new channels, taking or using new channels from different places. For example, one of them is TikTok, but also within the, not going so far. For example, recurring notification, which is a great new channel. We call it a new channel. You don't know it, you should look for it. Recurring notifications by Meta and others. So this is one thing that we see, at least we saw in 2022 and starting to see more in 2023, like bypassing of some sort. And the second thing is creating more and more, bringing more and more community members with their user-generated content, again, from and to different platforms, in order to bypass. Again, this is a bypass which is not technological one. It's not very intelligent or sophisticated. I'm sure that, for example, Roman will have more intelligent kind of reply for such a question. But this is what we see that they are doing, because they are standing in front of budgets that were very, very big budgets that have no use after, or not no use, but close to no use after these changes, as you mentioned.
Thank you very much. Mike, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, from our perspective, kind of bypassing the stores completely, to be fair. Nim, you mentioned new channels, and for you, still looking at Google Play and iOS, we're talking about, TikTok and, other new, I guess, networks and so on, platforms to market the games. But from, like our, our whole business model, our platform, new channels for us is, looking towards stores like Samsung Galaxy Store, like Huawei App Gallery, Xiaomi Get Apps, and many, many more out there in different markets globally. And how you can start to, I guess, bypass these, regulations that are becoming more and more stringent. We're seeing almost, like monthly with Google Play and with Apple and so on, and bypassing them completely, and starting to run user acquisition and deploy your games, run UA across all of these different channels that exist out there, and are growing rapidly as well. A lot of the device manufacturers are really now starting to push and build their own, I guess, ecosystems, their own app stores that can compete with Google Play, and I guess kind of move their dependence on Google itself, away from Google, and instead, kind of, I guess, put it on their own back, their own success. So being able to take advantage of that, I think, is one kind of surefire way, to be fair, to kind of bypass and get around, all of these regulations that are coming into place. That doesn't mean, I guess, marketing in sort of, I guess, bad ways, you could say. It doesn't mean that should be right in any sense. And I'm sure, regulations will eventually, as they normally do, catch up with these guys in the future as well. But yeah, normally the more regulations there are, the more people find ways around them. And, for me, it's, looking at these new channels, be that new marketing channels like TikTok and so on, or new distribution channels like Huawei, like Samsung, and all the others that are out there. I think that's kind of a really, clever way to be able to carry on scaling and carry on monetizing and expanding your business and your games.
Exactly, and I think it's a bit blurry about privacy thing. They made regulations about privacy, but it turns out to be like monetization or like some kind of their own marketing systems.
Mhm.
So we will see what will happen next. And Roman, how about Tangent? What's your approach?
I mean, everything is not so bad. Yeah, alternative stores for Android has been there forever. But you need to know how to manage them, right?
That's why we're here.
Exactly. But we'll soon probably have the multiple app stores on iOS devices.
Mhm.
Right, and that would be also very interesting to see, because probably that's going to be a completely different ecosystem compared to the one that we have on Android. And in other bright news, like the commission is probably, there's a cut that Apple is taking. This is also going to be at least a little bit lower than it used to be. Yeah, so from my perspective, it's fine, and the instruments that has been working are still working, and sometimes all those big headlines that you read in the news outlet are also a bit of clickbaity, so people would overreact.
Thank you very much. You made a great point about things how to about the stores in iOS devices. You will be able to use other stores as well. So that may lower the commission issue. And Svetlana, what's your approach?
Well, our take on that is just basically like looking at the focusing on developing new features that would use less granular data. So, and focusing on probabilistic approach, I guess quite standard, and finding new ways to optimize campaigns and bring like valuable users to our clients. But the second biggest focus for us is obviously creatives. So TikTok is already like a creative native platform, so brings creativity and joy. So that's why the creatives are quite different, and it's a big focus for us to onboard new clients on the platform and to educate them how to do that. Nim already mentioned like UGC content is a big part of that. So, and it takes a lot of education actually of our clients, because obviously they used to use the plain gameplay for other channels and it doesn't work for us. So that's kind of our two focus areas.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Talking about the creatives, I think you should have like infinite amounts of data about creatives. And what will change in terms of creative processes? Like, do you have some study about it inside the company or some report? Maybe you can reflect some information to us, and where shall we look for those creativity or in terms of creative processes?
Yeah, I mean, from our perspective, it's basically not much changes, because, as I said, we're like originally like quite different platforms in terms of content. But what we are normally like highlighting is that the like use of UGC content and less polished creatives. It's like a lot of my gaming advertisers, they actually get surprised when I show them some examples of creatives, the top performing ones, because they're always asking, is it a paid content or is it just someone, organically created? So basically that's kind of the main trend to do as more organic looking content as you can, using like all the creators, influencers, like real people. We do this creative workshops for the clients, and we do like a practical part where we actually do TikTok together, and then they would film some creative with the employee in the video, and then they would be surprised in a couple of weeks seeing this top creative in the top performing ones. So that's kind of the processes.
Okay, so we need to use like less polished and more organic feeling in our creatives.
Yeah, basically like gameplay, like plain gameplay doesn't work. But if you add like voiceover, like text to speech or some TikTok elements, animation, or like a creator on it, so it would definitely look better on the platform.
All right, thank you very much. And Roman, what do you think about creatives? Do you have some kind of analysis about it?
Yeah, I feel like it was gonna be a year of AI, maybe without the brackets, but the real AI generated creatives. So I already see like a lot of, at least in the like professional like network, a lot of people are doing like all sorts of AI generated stuff, starting from covers, pictures, or whatever. So there'll be, I'm sure that there are already like many startups around that. The challenge is like, how do you evaluate the performance of those creatives? Because you can generate like 1 million of creatives, but you can't test them all, right? So you still need to like have this, I don't know, hunch, like what's working better. So that's a challenge, right? Because you still need to have this experience to understand what works better or not. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. Can I ask you a question? Why weren't you able to test it? Because on TikTok we
you
actually
have a limited
recommend
budget.
Okay. That point.
So
okay,
I know it's TikTok, but
yeah, because we do recommend to refresh creatives every week, so to keep the performance stable.
Exactly. But like, I'm imagining like a junior UA person who's like never done a UA, and he's like, oh, I can generate as many creatives that I want, and that's gonna be a disaster, right?
Okay, thank you very much. We will come back to the AI point in the next questions. So, Mike, what do you think about creatives?
I think context is going to be something that plays a lot more sort of as we kind of move forwards. You know, platforms like TikTok, for example, like you were saying, just how the platform is used and the users, like how they're using the platform, what they expect to see when they're on the platform, and trying to build creatives, ads that kind of fit, that narrative, so to say. So it's not just about kind of how in the past, especially with a hyper casual, you go to, you went to Facebook, you'd said, I want these users, and then kind of just threw ads at them until, something kind of converted well enough to, make a profit on that campaign. I think now it's like a bit more thought, a little bit more time spent on the ads themselves to make something that, really does have, I guess, to some extent, some meaning to the users upon that platform. And actually, works with how that platform works as well. How TikTok works and Snapchat as well. Actually, how users are using that platform and designing and creating ads that kind of fit naturally within it. I think that's going to become, something that's more interesting, and I think it's going to produce better results. It might cost a little bit more in terms of time, in terms of resources, and more testing needed to find what works. But the results at the end of it, it's going to be something I think that players, users out there will end up finding more natural, and in the end, it'll probably be better for the platforms themselves and the publishers that are trying to monetize and make money. But also on the other side, those that are trying to market and trying to purchase them users, I guess, to get them to install their games, and find that their users in the end are actually more engaged, and more willing, I guess, at the end as well, to spend within games, because the whole process from the very beginning, from seeing that ad all the way to downloading, installing and then playing it, has kind of been something that's natural, that's felt organic, that's felt real, rather than just as we still do see, it's sort of these ads that are saying, this is the game, and it's not the game. It's actually just a mini game within the game that's trying to push you to then play the actual game that they want you to then spend money in. So I think less of that and more of a bit more sort of thought and context taken into consideration will produce, I think, better results as we kind of get to, as we said in the last question, a world which is a little bit more, heavily regulated around data and everything else around it as well. So a little bit more clever, and I think, the industry itself and developers and publishers will find a way to make it more interesting.
Yes, I agree. Thank you very much. You are right about the part that when you use other creatives than your actual content or your actual game, you can acquire users, but then you will have some problems about like retention and maybe play metrics. And so I think it would be
Acquiring
better
users is one thing, isn't it? Like actually getting them into the game is one thing, but you still want users that have some quality, so to say, that actually want to be in the game at the end of it. So it's all good going, I've got 1 million downloads, but everyone leaves the next day. We want 1 million downloads of users that actually want to be there, that want to play the game. And I think actually getting to the point where ads, are showing the game to start with, is going to be a good starting point. And, people just feel a lot more, I guess, sold into the game, and, are going to spend and engage and spend their time within it to actually, become them valuable users that at the end of the day, the industry and all of the businesses, all us developers run on at the end of it.
Exactly. Thank you very much. And Nim, what about creatives?
So I don't want to repeat what my colleagues said, but I do, and since I agree with them, I do want to say two things. One is what's happening before the social user meets the creative, and what happens after. Okay, these are two things that in many cases, are being left aside, alone, lonely, and we feel, or more than that, we saw that when social teams take care of what timing and in which timing and according to personalization, where and when to shoot and post posts, and when and where and how to interact. We call it the post interaction. Okay, how to act again in a personal way. We saw that when social teams take good care of that, when to send a DM, to whom to send a DM, they actually manage to bring DAO, daily active users, back to the game, to the website, to wherever they wanted in the first place. Because in the end of the day, with all due respect to interactions and creatives, we want the players back in the game. Okay, and this is the channel. This is the challenge, where so many brands are bleeding, quote unquote, bleeding out DAOs. Okay, so we found that if you think, you give a lot of thought, what happens before the user meets the creative, and more importantly, what happens after he or she meets the creative, this is something that helps a lot in the end of the day with the DAO.
All right, thank you very much. So user behavior is important in here, as far as I understand. So who gets the best approach to that will have a good time. Maybe AI will help with that, right? Like acquiring user behaviors and then like showing content according to them, or at which hour, what time they're gonna show some stuff. So, Nim, what do you think about AI and its impact on game marketing processes?
Okay, so following a little bit my talk earlier this day, in the beginning of this long day. So we saw that AI brings to social teams, this is our focus, I don't know in other places, but to social teams, it brings at last the possibility and the capability to be authentic at scale. So far, you had many, or brands had many people in their social team doing manual work to keep the authenticity. Authenticity is a must, especially today where almost everything is quote unquote fake, okay? So the social users, they want authenticity. How? By humans who talk with them, human to human interactions and so on and so forth. On the other side, they created social teams, they used many automatic or tech-oriented processes, but they were very unauthentic, or as we call it, robotic. Okay? Today, with the help of AI, what we call scalable authenticity is possible. And what we are doing, and with that I can talk all day about AI and what people and us done, but I will just keep it that way. AI, the catch is with AI is that it's not a miracle, it's a magic, okay? And it's a technological magic that demands a human magician. It's not like you can say, okay, you're a social team manager, guys, pay for ChatGPT and cut half of your time and go home. No, you must have hyperlocal models, AI models trained to your own tone, to your voice, to the brand guidelines, look and feel, and so on and so forth.
Okay, thank you very much. And Mike, what's your approach to AI in GameBake?
So AI, it's going to change the world, as everyone keeps saying. No, to be fair, I couldn't agree more with yourself, Nim. I think, all the I guess the amazing parts of what everyone shouting about and getting really hyped about with AI. I think at the end of it, there's still got to be some level of humanity behind it, in a sense, and there's amazing as we've all seen. There's amazing technology that's out right now, and is only getting better and better after day, really. But it's what's happening, behind the scenes that is going to make it interesting, I think. And there's only so much you can do in terms of automation, and it's the same, with what we're doing with our distribution, technology, and we're trying to automate the way that you can deploy games into all these different channels. And as you said earlier, Roman, just managing all them channels, that then becomes complex. And we're trying to automate that in the sense of you don't have to click upload, upload here, upload, press, change this screenshot. We're trying to automate all of that process. But again, there's still only so much you can do. Eventually, it needs some sort of human interaction. It needs, somebody to be there to make sure that, what is being uploaded is correct at the end of the day, and it's not going against any, as we were saying earlier and talking about store regulations or, regulations for specific markets and so on as well. So I think it's the same thing with AI. It's going to bring a lot of change. It's going to help to automate, I think, a lot of more mundane processes that obviously do exist out there, but it's not going to just all of a sudden replace a marketing team or replace your social teams and your creative teams and so on. It's going to be great that you can create 1 million creatives now, really kind of with a click of a button, but having 1 million creatives and having 10 good creatives that actually perform are two completely different things. And at the end of the day, you need somebody, you need a human there, you need a team there that knows what they're doing, understands the platform, the channel, the users, understands the context at the end of it, and can say, okay, well, we've just generated 1 million, 1 million creatives within 5 minutes. That's amazing. But what 10 or what 20 or 100 of them creatives should we actually now move forwards with? Should we actually test and see hopefully some decent results with? So yeah, as I said, it's going to change the world, hopefully for the better. Hopefully it doesn't turn into Terminator in 10 years time. So we'll see how correct or not Elon Musk and so on is. So we'll see what comes with it.
Thank you very much. So it's really cool to have AI for automation processes, but in terms of creativity, I think AI needs a human, or human may need an AI later to have better creativity. And Roman, did you change any process in Tangent to implement AI maybe for the processes?
I mean, nothing like that. Like more like plus one to what guys already said. Like it's a system more than like a replacement. It's also like an additional like skill that I guess everyone at some point would need to have. Like even now, how do you prompt like ChatGPT? The result would be like completely different. At Tangent, like we have a data warehouse product, and in order to access it, like normally you would need to have some sort of like a data guidance team who knows SQL, and they write queries, and like you go to them, you talk to them, you explain, they don't understand, and then they deliver something else, and like you're waiting. Now, like I tested it myself, you can go like not even like a special startup or anything else, ChatGPT, and you feed them like a data warehouse, like a table, what sort of information is there, and you can ask it to write like queries for you. So you don't need to wait anymore, right? So for primitive like data science tasks, you can already use even like ChatGPT.
Exactly, like ChatGPT can write a code or maybe some thesis, and people gonna graduate with ChatGPT, who knows? So Svetlana, do you have any AI process in your gaming side?
I mean, I obviously love and agree with all the points that you guys already mentioned. And yeah, I personally would love to see more AI on the creative side, not only in terms of creating the creative, sorry for being repetitive, but more for analyzing actually creatives, like analyzing the results of the tests that the UA team was running, because I think it's It's quite crucial to understand which creative resonates with which market and to help to find the right users for the game.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So, do you have any alternative marketing or monetization methods for this year, like cross promotion or something else?
Is that question to me?
Yes, yes, I asked you.
Sorry. Yeah, well, I mean, yes and no. So basically, like as an alternative, we do recommend our clients to focus also on the organic presence on TikTok. So to boost the organic users and views. So we see the big correlation between UA and the organic side. What else from our side? The rest is kind of, yeah, same. What I see from my clients is also obviously implementing hybrid monetization models more and more. Yeah, but I guess it's, I guess the guys can tell you more.
Okay, thank you very much. So, Roman, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, now you really need to work with your product team. One of the examples is like live ops campaigns. Like it's been like here for years, but mostly in the big companies. But now, like I feel like it's becoming essential for like if I acquired user in TikTok, like maybe I should give him a different user journey compared to the user organic user, right? So maybe for organic user, I'm focusing on ad monetization, and for TikTok user, I'm showing them share like your 30 seconds gameplay video on TikTok, right? I think this is a most important part. It's not that hard to implement, but again, like it's hard to figure out what is right for your product, and it requires like close cooperation between the marketing and product department.
Okay, thank you very much. Mike, how about GameBake?
Yeah, I mean, for us, alternative marketing is alternative channels in a sense, and how we're trying to, I guess, approach our tech and our platform is to help, developers out there take advantage of the organic opportunities that you can get on a lot of these stores and a lot of these different channels that exist out there, but also providing the tools as well to be able to market, run user acquisition, and so on across these channels, which is something at the moment that is, to be fair, pretty non-existent. We're kind of spoilt for choice when it comes to, the Apple App Store and Google Play. But going to all of these other stores where there is, tens, hundreds of millions of users sitting there, waiting to download your games. But it is almost like going back about 10, 15 years in some cases to be able to actually run UA and, acquire these users in a meaningful way. So, for me, I think a lot of this year, as we've kind of just been saying the whole time, more regulations, I think is going to, and, more, I guess, lawsuits you could say as well against sort of like Apple and Google to try and break up that duopoly a little bit that they have in sort of the App Store and world. I think it's going to lead to more curiosity about the various channels, and that's what we're seeing with many of the different developers and publishers we speak with. There's more curiosity around these channels, how they can perform, what are the users like from these channels as well, and how can we monetize. And for us, it's like, well, everything is the same. You don't need to change your monetization methods. If you're monetizing with ads, carry on. If you're monetizing as a hybrid model, carry on. And we've got the UA and the set of tools that we need to allow them to run campaigns, set them up, test them, see what's ROI positive, and so on. So for us, it's don't change what you're doing in a sense, because I think it's very well proven that what everyone is doing over time has worked quite well. You don't get to a huge industry like what the game industry and the mobile games industry is, by doing everything wrong. So clearly people are doing things pretty good at the moment, but just finding, I think, new ways, new channels, to kind of do that so you can take advantage of the hundreds of millions of users out there that might not exist on a channel like Google Play, in some cases, or don't use these main stores as the way to get their games. So yeah, for me, think alternative by thinking alternative stores and alternative channels. That's how I'm kind of approaching it.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And Neem, how about Dynamo?
We saw our customers dealing in the last years with the user-generated content. They found in the different communities, they found the more interactive, creative, funny, serious, shallow, deep kind of members, community members, and they handpicked them and they tried to work with them. In games, usually they gave them coins, gems, whatever, energy, whatever they wanted to give them. In little cases, in only a few cases, we believe that they actually gave them money. Okay, but in the end of the day, that was it. Now what we see is we can call it from UGC to IGC, influencers-based generated content. We see that the level is a little bit up in all senses. First of all, there's a profession in here. An influencer is a profession. Maybe it's a part of the gig economy, it doesn't matter, but it's a profession. It is clear that he or she must receive money. If they receive money, the brand demands, for example, attribution, analytics, data, as Sveta said before, and so on and so forth. So we see kind of like the title is kind of like generated content, not necessarily by the brand, but from a user, or in this case, what I say that's happening now is the influencers based. And we see that this is an alternative. And once the data and analytics kick in to this arena, it is a new channel to your question. It's a new way to market.
Thank you very much. We talked a lot about the organic acquisition part, and I think it's a bit about maybe community building or some kind of influencers, and also mentioned about like in-app purchase also is needed like as an alternative channel maybe for the monetization part. So if we consider mostly like the organic acquisition, what would be your approach to reach your target audience in this case?
So I think that among all of us, I have the less expertise in this subject, but I do want to say, as part of user acquisition, there's a big part for retargeting. Now, what we learned is that in many cases, the social user is not necessarily in the game, okay, yet, but the brand should, could, would approach him or her in other platforms. For example, Facebook and Instagram, that again, it sounds very weird, but in some cases, they are already on board the brand's platform, social platform, but not yet in the game itself.
Okay, thank you very much. Mike, what would be your approach to your target audience?
I think, for me, kind of as I was saying with, the AI side of things, but like here as well, context kind of like matters. It depends obviously on your game. What hyper casual games are obviously going to have a different target audience to something that's more mid core and really heavy on in-app purchases. But I think that then really should kind of influence your decision on what channels you want to not just deploy your game to. For us, but also who you want to market with as well. You know, it doesn't mean a more mid-core game, for example. You know, with TikTok, doesn't mean a bigger game and mid-core. You know, these in-app purchase games are not going to work, of course. And what creatives you produce and you use, and so on is going to matter quite a lot as well. But just thinking about the audience that's on Facebook compared to TikTok, if you're going with something that's more in-app purchase, like Candy Crush, for example, maybe not the best example, to be honest, but you might find that you find a much better result and better conversions and better users for that game, which are going to have the money to spend in the first place in a game like Candy Crush as an example, compared to running that same ad on a platform like TikTok. So I think thinking about the game is like you've actually got, and who it is that you should or want within your game to convert the best is going to be like massively important. And then using the channels, using the platforms that make most sense as well, because they all have their own user base, and all these user bases they're not the same, they're different, and I think being able to make the right decision on where you're marketing is going to make get the biggest bang for your buck at the end of the day for that ad spend that you put down. So yeah, I think about it as kind of I think the main thing at the end of it, rather than just plastering everywhere, which is the very hyper casual way of doing things, I think just kind of get out there and see what works and then kind of scale it up. But I think as things are kind of trying to mold and merge into sort of a more hybrid model of games and stuff as well now, actually thinking a little bit more in depth about your actual audience that you want in these games is going to be important going forwards.
Thank you very much. So you will target your own audience based on user behavior and user personas. But how about like if you like to touch other users as well? How would you hook them with like a casual approach, with lighter creatives, or do you have some need process or another method you use?
I mean, it's kind of a mixture, so to say, between things. If we're trying to get users, I think it becomes a mix. If you've got a really sort of like mid-core, hardcore game, you're wanting users that are going to be spending in that game, for example. But even then, you're still only a small percentage that actually will spend. So again, you might find that using like deep links within the game to different features, different screens within the game from users from different platforms will actually produce better results. As I said, Facebook users are completely different to TikTok users, so finding the right not just the right creative but the right end, I guess, product at the end of the day for them users to actually install the game and then jump into it is probably going to help produce better results at the end of the day as well. So you can't rely on just one thing. It's a mixture of everything, of course. But if you're going to be targeting audience, finding the right audience for your games, then it's not just going into Facebook and going, I want users, I want males from the US at this like age range. I think there's a lot more to it to actually find the users that you want within your game and the users that are going to engage and at the end of it monetize as well properly for you.
All right, thank you very much. Roman, have you implemented something new in Tangent for reaching new audiences?
Yeah, I mean, it all like starts with a product. Like this is like what hyper casuals like taught all of the other genres, and I'm not sure like if everyone learned that lesson, that the product like comes first. When you have this like very viral mechanics, people would love it, people would share it with the others. For some reason, I don't know, we have only like a couple of real hybrid casual titles that are being like published. That's kind of show how hard it is to implement like hyper casual mechanics into the like other game genres. But usually my advice is to measure the organic uplift for the advertising campaigns that you're running. Like this will show a lot, like how many organic users can one of your advertising users can bring you.
Okay, thank you very much. Svetlana, have you made any changes in your processes, especially your partners in gaming to reach target audience or maybe more than their targets?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that we made any changes, but actually quite like Mike's point about thinking about user behaviors and testing different things in different markets. So yeah, basically it comes down to a lot of testing because like even for similar type of games, same feature wouldn't work the same. So for like, let's say for casual games, you would think like, okay, VO would be the best feature, but apparently like for some of them, up event optimization works best than value optimization, better than value optimization. So it's basically like a lot of testing different like where to optimize campaign, testing different like markets. Because again, like for some of my clients, it was surprising to discover that actually Japan is more like bringing the most stable results than the US that they've always been targeting. So, and yeah, basically it's like, testing and having this mindset, open to different like new things. And again, like a lot of creatives, testing a lot of creatives. Yeah.
Perfect, thank you very much. Okay, Dan, what's your thinking about the search ads, Svetlana? Like, is it going to be a problem for you or not?
I, to be honest, don't have many insights on that. So since we don't have it, yeah.
Okay, no problem. Roman, what's your approach to search ads?
Yeah, I mean, it depends. Like some of the genres are like doing great with search ads. I think there'll be like some sort of product update. Yeah, that might improve the performance on search ads in this year or next year. Like I think this way because of all the like SCAD network stuff that's been released. Yeah, like again, like with search ads, I haven't seen it working for hyper casual games. Like we're releasing the reports like quarterly. It's somewhere like 8th or 9th place. But if you ask like subscription app developers, they love it because yeah, you probably go into the app store and type something like utility app or I don't know, app to clean my space on my iPhone. I have no idea, but the user behavior is different, right? You don't type like hyper casual game with a person running on the bridge. So kind of makes sense. So try, like again, like I think this is the main theme of our panel today is like test. So yeah, test. But I feel like there is a potential, of course, there because they're like it's an ad network from like platform holder. It should deliver.
All right, thank you very much. And Mike, have you tried them? Do you use them? What do you think about them?
Yeah, to be fair, it's probably search ads has been something that's more common on alternative channels. Where as I kind of said earlier, the normal, I'd say, standard like ads, UA, and monetization like ecosystem doesn't really exist so much like outside of the Apple App Store and Google Play. So when you're looking at UA strategies on alternative channels, search ads maybe not in exactly the same form, but usually kind of play quite a big role in pushing a game up the search rankings basically, and making sure you're first in place for certain keywords and so on. So yeah, I mean, very much as we've been saying, like you just said as well, Roman, it's like there's no harm in testing these things. It's another tool for the war chest that's out there, and there's no reason why you shouldn't be at the very minimum trying it out, seeing what happens, and if it doesn't convert, then don't scale, don't waste your time with it any further, sort of thing. So yeah, give it a try. And it comes to what platform, as I was kind of saying previously as well, like I just said, alternative platforms, it's a bit more of, I'd say, a common thing and a common theme that you see quite a lot across these channels. So if you're looking to use search ads as kind of a key, I guess, way to acquire users, and you're seeing it works very well on sort of the main channels, then maybe it's worth considering more alternative channels as well, because you can carry on that strategy basically that's already working for you, and expand that to more users in different markets globally. So give it a try. I think that's kind of the best way to end it. Try it out if it works.
Cool. So trial and error. You see
Always
that, right? Perfect. And Nim, what's your approach?
I agree with Svetlana. I don't have any insights because we don't do search ads. We do other things with other ads, but not with search ads.
All right. Thank you very much. I think we are almost out of time. And before wrapping up, maybe if you would like to mention about anything, or we will get the questions.
Good.
Okay, so if you have any questions, please type in the chat and we will try to answer them.
Meanwhile, I will just add about the AI that we discussed earlier. One of our people, Dynamo, sent us in the group. He sent something nice, a post saying that AI will not replace you. A person who knows how to use AI will. So we are totally, we see it every day. We stream hundreds of thousands of interactions. Most of them are made and created by our, again, ad hoc trained AI models on one hand. On the other, where we say that our social managers and community managers and communication managers that work with Dynamo, they are still in the driver's seat. We believe that forever, but we simply bring with our AI models, we bring them one hell of a cruise control. But this is how we approach it, and this is how we see it, the applications of the different applications of AI.
Yeah, I see it as remove the mundane and optimize the complex. You're not getting rid of people, but you're making, hopefully, people's jobs not maybe simpler or easier. It's not the right words, but more productive, I think. And that's how I kind of see AI and how we'll be using it moving forwards.
I agree.
Okay, thank you. Now we have a question. What's minimum daily user acquisition required in USA to get more organic users on iOS or Android? Who would like to answer that?
I'll do a terrible thing right now. I'll promote our report. So we have this. We have the data.
Who knew it was coming?
So and no one from Tangent team posted those questions. I'm sure you.
It was all your planning, right? You planned those questions to promote report. So if you have those answers in the report, I think our audience would check and see.
Yeah, like US #1, but high CPI. Like Brazil is pretty good. Like I noticed that in Q3, like the CPI was 7 cents. Now, like it's #2 in spending, I think, in Android. #3 is Japan, by the way. In Q3, it was on the second place. So, like, those things are often like counterintuitive. Like this is kind of resonates with what Svetlana said earlier.
Okay, so do you have any specific number on your mind about the minimum daily user acquisition to trigger organic users in those regions?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've done something like a calculator in the past in the Google spreadsheet. It really depends on your metrics. So what should be your budget? Yeah, I can take it out and post it in the chat later.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I think we do not have any more questions. So thank you very much for your participation. Nice to meet you all. And thank you for the audience. See you next time.
Cheers.
you.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.